Hey, it's Melinda here with the Coaches Console. And with all the startup coaches and the practitioners that we work with, over and over and over again, one of the things that we hear consistently is how they are confused and overwhelmed when it comes to setting up and launching their business. Maybe this describes you. A lot of times as a startup coach or a budding entrepreneur makes that commitment and steps out and says, I'm going to do this as a business. It's going to be more than a hobby. I'm going to go for this. Let's do this as a business. Their enthusiasm has them ready to go out and find clients. Maybe they just finished training. They finished their coach training and now they can't wait to use those skills and put them into practice and work with clients and make money, right? Because that's their dream. But here's the interesting thing. Their enthusiasm has them ready, but they're not necessarily prepared. And right now, what I want to share with you are three of the biggest reasons why overwhelm and confusion really set in with startup coaches. And I want you to avoid these, and maybe you can do some things differently so that you can have fun in the journey of launching your business. When you're first starting out as a budding entrepreneur and that startup coach, you don't know what you don't know, at least for the majority of people. I know when I first started my coaching business, I had no intention of ever being an entrepreneur. That was not on my radar. It was not on my wish list. It was not a bucket list thing. Being an entrepreneur, not my gig. And I did coaching as a hobby to start. I loved it. I had a corporate job. I was really good at what I was doing. I loved being a coach on the side and dabbling in it, and that was working perfectly until my situation changed. And then I decided, instead of just dabbling in this thing called coaching, I'm going to go for it in my business. Well, because I'm not an entrepreneur, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything about running my own business. And that's one of the first areas where overwhelm creates and sets in. Because you don't know what you don't know, but your enthusiasm says, let's go out and get clients because I love doing this. And so you go out and you venture out and you start telling people this thing about coaching and this transformation and the impact you're making and how rewarding it is and how it's your calling and your gifts, and you're out there doing that. But then you start bumping into things and it's like, oh my gosh, well, I need to have this in order to grow my list. And I need to be able to do this when somebody's interested in my services. And there's all these tasks that begin to become necessary behind the scenes. And as you bump into each one at a time, it's like, oh crap, now what do I do with that? And you scramble behind the scenes and you put a solution into place, and then you go out and your enthusiasm, it gets the best of you again, and you're like, let's go find clients and let's do this. But you still don't know what you don't know about the business of coaching. And so you continue to run into need after need, and you solve each need as you bump into it, as you hit that, oh crap, now what do I do moment. You solve that need, you put a solution in place, and you move on. And, from the front end, it's not bad. From the perspective or the client or the prospect's perspective, it's not a bad thing. You seem professional, but behind the scenes, it's a huge cost. You're stressed, you're running around, and you're trying to figure things out so that you can keep the momentum going that you're trying to build with your marketing. But you're exhausted, you're worn down. It's costing a lot of time and energy and money because you're piecemealing a lot of solutions together. You're in that place of you don't know what you don't know. You're piecemealing one solution after another together. And it's kind of like one of our clients, before she met us, she described it as her business was being held together with spitballs and duct tape. Like she was scrambling behind the scenes to make this work. And we want you to avoid that. Because there's a sequence, there's certain steps to take and a certain sequence that you can do right from the very beginning that generally and consistently creates the results of growing your list, converting clients, getting paid by them without the frantic energy behind the scenes. So that's the first area where overwhelm and confusion sets in, is with that. You don't know what you don't know. Your enthusiasm gets the best of you. You try to scramble and find clients, and then you piecemeal solutions together in the back end so that you can deliver what you promised. Now, the second area is this is what we call like you're getting too far ahead of yourself, right? Like you're studying with mentors. You hear other people in the industry say that they're doing XYZ marketing strategy, or they're using XY tools and resources, and you're like, wow, I want to be like them. They have the kind of business that I want. So you get too far ahead of yourself. You start implementing strategies that are more for a business model that's further down the path than where you are when you're started. Does that make sense? Right? When you're first starting, there's some foundational, fundamental elements that you need to have in place for your business. And if you don't have those in place, then some of these more advanced resources and strategies that you're learning and witnessing from your mentors and other industry leaders, they may not work for you. And so you spend a lot of this time and energy and money implementing these advanced strategies, but meanwhile you're missing the fundamentals and missing the basics. So there's a lot of reactionary and backpedaling and redoing things, and you're not getting the kind of results that you want. And that's where overwhelm kind of kicks into high gear, because you're trying to be in a business model that's too far ahead of where you are right now. Now you'll get there, and it doesn't have to take long to get there, but you got to have the basics in place first before the more advanced strategies will work for you. And then the third area where we see confusion and overwhelm really click into place and kind of kick into high gear is in the energy of desperation. A lot of times, like my own personal story, the way I got started into coaching as a business, right? I said earlier I was in a hobby. I had a job. I loved what I was doing. I got fired from that job, and I was left with this moment of, well, do I go find another job, or do I turn this thing called a hobby into a business and make money doing what I love? And I faced that decision. Now, for me, I didn't want to go find another job. I wanted to pursue my dream. I wanted to really go for it. And so I made that commitment with myself. Now, here's the thing. At that same time, I was also recently divorced. It was the very first time I was on my own. I had financial responsibilities that I had to take care of. I didn't have time to mess around. I had to make money. I had to make money fast. So this sense of desperation can often click into place. Now, in my particular situation, I had a small amount of reserves set aside to bridge a couple of months so that I could get out there and get some traction fast. But that little bit of cushion, it wasn't much, it doesn't take much, but that little bit of cushion that I had, that financial reserves that I had in my savings, that allowed me to breathe, to focus on what I needed to focus on in setting up my business, learning about my market, and getting out there and marketing and networking without that energy of desperation. A lot of times when there's that unnecessary pressure of, I've got to make money yesterday, it causes a lot of mistakes. It allows you to not see the necessary elements that needs to be in place, because this desperation has this frantic energy about it that's driving your perspective and your thoughts. So that's another area, is when you're desperate, when you have to get those clients because you don't have any other source of income. And a lot of times what we'll tell startup coaches is to get what we call a bridge job. A good friend of mine taught me this concept, Barbara Stanny, and she told me about this concept of a bridge job. And there are times where you might need a small little job. It's not a career. It's not a long-term situation. It's just a short, simple little bridge job to bridge the gap from your commitment to want to start your business to make sure you can financially cover the basic elements, putting food on your table, a roof overhead, the basic elements of what you need to pay for to survive. We're not talking about thriving, just surviving, so that you can focus on implementing your business. So sometimes a bridge job might be necessary so that you can breathe and not have that energy of desperation while you're trying to pursue your business. So these are the three most common areas that we see that really lend to confusion and overwhelm. And not to mention that when you're starting out, when it comes to the business of coaching, there are hundreds of necessary tasks and activities that must be done behind the scenes just so you can find clients and grow your list, convert them, get paid by them, support them, and do this on a regular basis. It's necessary. You cannot overlook them. If you do, you just have a nice hobby. That's fine. But if you really want to be in business, then you must have these elements in place behind the scenes. And again, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know when I first started my coaching business. And so you learn those pieces. You take a little bit of time up front, and you invest that time to understand those pieces and implement them so that you have the foundation and the fundamentals in place that allow you to have that confidence to go out and market and network, and you can deliver what you promise. Now, in this Facebook post, you're going to see a link. It's right down below. You'll see this link. We actually give you what we call the Coaching Business Launch Plan. It gives you all the steps that you need to set up your business, and the sequence to set them up in, like what to do first, second, and third. That's another thing that we hear a lot is, gosh, Belinda, there's so much that I'm learning about my business. Where do I begin? What's first? What's second? And then what do I pay attention to? So in the Coaching Business Launch Plan, it's a free download. You'll get your copy in this post here. When you go and take a look at that, you'll see all the steps that you need to put in place and the sequence, because the sequence does matter. A lot of times overwhelm will kick into high gear again because you do it out of sequence, and you got to backpedal and you got to correct and implement things that you missed on the get-go. So we give you the exact sequence. So download your copy today. Take a look at where might you have holes in your business. Where might things be slipping through the cracks, and what basic fundamentals behind the scenes in your business might be missing. Having this in place will eliminate that overwhelm and allow you the space to just kind of breathe and confidently move forward as you set up and launch your business. We've got some more resources that we're going to be sharing with you in the next couple days, so we'll see you here again soon. Until then, have a great day, and here's to your success.